welcome to the second series of the Marathon Medic podcast. My name's Amy and I'm a junior doctor and running coach based in London. This series is all about strong females, so I'll be chatting to women that I look up to with interesting stories and advice to share. So today I'm chatting to Olga Stignii. Olga is a personal trainer and ultra runner with a passion for fitness, food and fun. We sat down to chat about how she became a personal trainer, her experience of finishing as 10th female at Ultra Trail Cape Town last year, and she also shared some tips for individuals beginning their running journeys. So Olga, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy, for having me. I'm super excited to be here and talking to you because running, strength training, fitness in general, it's something that I live and breathe every day. So,
and I think that's so evident in everything you do. You can tell that you have such an enthusiasm for it. Could you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey into exercise?
Right, so I think it's all started way before I realized it's going to be a huge part of my life. Since a little child, I can remember myself being hyperactive, like literally none of my family could catch up with me. And as a little girl, I used to be quite like all the time getting into like things that boys would usually do other than girls. So my knees were always like in bruises because I was climbing trees, running around playing football, and just generally like running around. So it was always like kind of a thing for me. And I do remember that my mom used to say to me, you probably should have been a boy other than the girl because of the way you behave. And I was like, well, I'm a girl, but this is the way I behave. So that was quite interesting then to think about it, being a grown woman, realizing what your strength is in terms of what you do in life, and like think back and connect the dots together. So then during the school time, I used to be quite active as well. I used to always like compete in athletics and running short and medium distances, like for school, between schools and stuff. So that was very interesting as well. And then at some point, I unfortunately kind of like at the teenage time stopped doing that and went into this like crazy mode of like exploring the world, going out, as they say, sex, drugs and rock and roll kind of state, even though I never took drugs. But yeah. So that was for a few years. And then after that, I couldn't get into uni of my choice back at home. So this is when I decided to move to London. And first plan was to come here and spend a year learning language and learning the culture, going back home, and then trying again to get into uni. And back then I wanted to study to become a lawyer, and the law school that I picked was quite tough, especially on the female. It was like quite disappointing time for me because I was heartbroken when, after passing all the physical tests and the exams, they were like talking to me and telling me like what's going to happen with you after like you have family and kids and then you have to take time off work. And I was like, what?
I can't believe that. How long ago was that?
Yeah, this is what we have. Like it was about 14 years ago. And then my aunt, who still lives in London, invited me to come around and just to explore. And I said yes, and here I am, 12 years after.
12 years after. And now you're a very strong runner and personal trainer. So what kind of took you from that passion for law to passion for personal training? Because they're quite different career paths.
Yes, and I have been asked this question many times. So after staying in London for a year, learning a language and the culture, and at that time I got myself a job looking after kids, which I loved. Something that was always inside me. I love kids. So and then it was time to decide whether I'm going to go back or whether I'm going to stay. And the first year was super hard for me because I haven't had many friends. My English wasn't great. So I was like always seeking around people from the Ukraine. So I found it tough to find friends and I kind of struggled. But then I always knew that the future back home didn't excite me that much. So even though I was planning to go back, I decided to stay for 1 more year. And the second year was much easier because by then I had more friends, my English got much better, and I started to hang out with English people more, which helped big times. And I started to be interested in fashion and design and interior design. So I decided to take course with, first I started with a Chelsea art school where I did interior design course with them. Still, it wasn't like 100% me. And I was trying to find myself, trying different things. And while I was doing that, I started to be interested in running again. But I didn't know where to start. Like I usually say, no regrets in life. Only one regret I have. I used to, as a teenager, I used to smoke. If I had a choice, I would never touch it. But hey, you can't change past, but you can change the future. And the best thing is just to live in present and learn from your mistakes. I was like, I want to start running again, but I was so afraid because like I was smoking for such a long time, and I was like, oh my God, I will like be breathless within like few minutes. And that was true. One morning I was running for the bus. It was like literally 2 minutes, and it was like at the bus stop, and I wanted to like really get it, and I run really fast, and I did get it, but then I almost like I was so breathless, it was scary, and I was like, oh my God, I have to change things. I have to like
a wake up call that you need to start looking
exactly. I was like, oh my God, it's not cool at all. So yes, that was kind of the first thing which kind of brought me back to running. And I remember going out for the first time. I couldn't run without stopping for 10 minutes. It was shocking. Like first 10 minutes I had to stop because I was gasping for air. It was like unbelievable. So then I had this like path along the parkway, and there are beautiful trees all around. So I started by like, okay, let's run to the second tree, walk to the third tree, and this is how I kind of every time I went out measured my progress. And obviously I had started to smoke less then, and at some point I went to smoking only when I went out and had a drink. So it was on and off. One day I was coming back from St. Martin's on my bike, and I had my accident on my bike, and this has kind of changed everything. So in 1 second you realize there could be no tomorrow, right? It's end, game is over. But it took me a long time to recover. It was quite a nasty accident. It literally left me mentally and physically quite unwell for some time, and I couldn't open my eyes because my face was so swollen. Like luckily I had a helmet on, and I am getting so angry with people now who's not wearing helmets because it's literally saved my life. If I haven't had a helmet on, I wouldn't be here. So they took me to the hospital. The hospital is absolutely incredible. I went to
St. George's?
St. George's, yes, here we go. So this is where they treated me, and I am so grateful. Like the staff, everything was just so perfect. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe like they did such a good job, and they took such a great care of me, and I'm still grateful. What they had to do, they put like a metal thingy around my upper jaw, and it really was unpleasant. I couldn't look in the mirror for like 3 months. I was afraid. And I asked everyone to take all the mirrors from the house when I moved back, and like going to the bathroom was like, no mirrors, hide them all. I just can't take that. When after 4 months I couldn't do that no more, and I just decided like I had to stop. I had to stop taking medicine. I had to stop feeling sorry for myself, and I have to start to get out and just live my life, because it has to continue. I'm still here. I'm lucky to be here, so I just have to go and do it. I signed up for the hot yoga class because they said to me like no running and no physical activity, no jumping, no nothing. I don't know why I went for hot.
I was about to say hot yoga seems the most extreme version of yoga.
I am the person like that. I either do it something extreme or I do nothing. They are not always good choices though.
Yeah.
And I barely survived. I had to leave the room once during the session. But I took it easy and I did finish the class and I felt so much better after. I had a massive smile on my face walking back home, and I just felt like I am alive again, being able to do something. And then after that, I was like, right, so what really makes you happy? What really brings joy in your life? I always loved helping other people, and I love sports. So how can I combine those things together? And I was doing my research online, Googling many different things, and I came across Future Fit Training Academy, and they had an open day in East London Uni for their personal trainer course. So I went to the open day. On the day I signed up for the full thing, and yeah.
And you've been doing that ever since?
I never looked back.
That's really nice to hear. And I think actually as I was listening to you, I kind of think of being a lawyer and being a personal trainer as so different, but actually when you said that you love helping people, I think that's the link, isn't it?
It is, maybe it is, yeah. So it's definitely like this time I felt 100% myself, and this time anytime I opened a book and I was like totally into it, and I was so engaged and focused, and I would get up every morning like at 5 o'clock. I'll do like 2 hours of studying before work, and then I go to work, and then I come back and I do another like 2 hours of studying before going to bed. And I was like always trying to like learn from different areas, like asking people many questions. I remember I had a client, and she was going through some kind of injury, her neck injury or something, and she was going to the physios and trying to sort it out. And I was like always asking her, what is it? What specific muscle it is? Like, what movement do you have to do? And I was always like very much into like questioning and trying to learn like a sponge, soaking all the information from anywhere I could at that time. So yeah, it took me 2 years to complete the course, and I was doing that. I was also like into running more. I started to, so from 10 minutes barely could run, I started to run like 5 kilometers races, and then 10-kilometer races. But first one ever I done after this, like couldn't run for 10 minutes. I went online, and being like the individual I am, like going radical straight away, I booked myself into like Epsom 10-mile race. And I remember arriving to the start line, and I couldn't believe I'm here wearing my like little number, and it was raining and the weather was so miserable. And back then I did not know what 10-miler was. Like I was like,
had you done any training at this point?
No,
or you just
no,
just signed up?
I just signed up. And I was dying during that run. I was dying so bad. And then Epsom Downs, they are up and down roads. So it's like a lot of uphill, downhill, even though they're not very steep, but still. So I went running, and like first going through paces, really pushing hard, thinking, oh my God, I can run the whole thing, going so fast. And then after like 15 minutes of realizing it's not going to be easy, and it's not even like, like 2Ks, it's another like it's 16K run. It's like a lot. So I struggled big times, but after that race, I fell in love with running even more because of the people who run the race. Oh my God, I got so much support from the runners. Like I remember the guy like being so much older than myself, like running really strong, and like running past me and just like, girl, just keep going. You can do this. Like, just keep going. Don't stop. Just keep going. And I was like, okay, I will. But I'm dying now. He was like, just keep going. So, and with that voice, like, stayed in my head throughout the whole run. And I was like, oh my God, thank you, man. And then he disappeared. And then I literally run, walk. I didn't run the full thing. It was good time now thinking about it. I did 10 miles in 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with that. I was thinking, the way you just told that story, I was thinking it was going to be a really long time.
Exactly.
So you're obviously quite a natural fit runner, I would say.
I had no idea then what that
Yeah.
meant. Like, I was like, 120, like, it's you just what, good, bad, what is it? Like, I don't know. I felt so bad during the runs that I thought, like, I will be the last one. So the goal was not to be the last person in the race. So, yeah, and then I researched more and started running more, and it was like, that wasn't actually bad. I started running more and more and progressed to whatever it is now.
And I guess we should talk about the big race of last year, which was UTCT. Would you be able to tell the listeners a little bit about that race?
It's one of the best experiences of my life that I ever had. And it had a history, as you can imagine. I did this race twice. I was asked by Jodie, beautiful Jodie, if I want to join him and a few other friends to go to Cape Town to do this race. And I was like, well, sure. Even though I didn't look at the distance or elevation or anything like that. Let's go.
So the distance is 100k and it's over 14,000 feet elevation, I think. Is that right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a big race.
It is a big race. And you could sign up for like 35 and 65. And I was like, no, if I'm going that far, I'm running the whole distance without knowing what that meant. Hey ho. I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then that year, it was 2018. That year, we, as a group of friends, were trying to get to Ultra Trail Mont Blanc as a team. So we all signed up for Dorset Ultra Marathon, which was 73 kilometers long. So it was my first ever ultra marathon. So the UTCT was in November and that race was in October. So that was my longest run before that. And it was my first ever trail ultra marathon that I ever done. So that was fun, but I think the difference was that it was UK, it was raining, it was muddy, the hills were tough but doable, and also friends. Like we had so many friends around, like literally we almost knew everyone because a lot of like minute runners, a lot of other running communities. Dorset is not far, so a lot of people that we know were running it as well. So that race went really well. I did enjoy it a lot. So I was like, I surely can do it. And then I think I didn't take seriously enough what that race is in 2018. Going to Cape Town that year was amazing. Never been to South Africa before then. And then we had this beautiful 5 days pre the race exploring the country, and probably big mistake was next time never do that.
Enjoy it after the race, not before.
Exactly, that's it, because we didn't want to miss out on anything. And South Africa is very famous for its amazing food and awesome wine, so you want to experience both when you go out and eat, and also like culture and different places. Chamspeak Drive is one of my favorite drives. Like the scenery is just amazing. So yeah, we had like 5 beautiful days enjoying ourselves and learning about the country. And then the race was on Saturday morning starting at 4 a.m. We all were I was super stressed, and I know all of us were super stressed. So it was 4 of us running it. And we all overdid on electrolytes pre the race was starting. So the day before we were drinking so much water, and we were like putting so many electrolytes in because we were afraid it's going to be like so hot, we will lose all the salts and blah, 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 blah. Did all the research, like you should drink the electrolytes pre the race. And I was like, yes, sure, but you don't drink like the full packet of it. Like we just too much.
Okay.
We were just so nervous about it. And because of all this like excitement and thinking about the race, you can't really sleep the night before. So even though like you go to bed early, and totally we had too much food before we went to bed, but you learn from what you do, I guess. And then start line 4 a.m. you there, you kind of like, you have this feeling inside you that your heart just gonna like jump out, just seeing all the people at the start line wearing the hat torches, the like race director briefing you through how it's gonna be, looking at the route and imagining running it, which was like, oh my god, how it's gonna be like. It was insane. I can't even describe the feeling. And then we started, and there we go. So the race didn't go well to start with for me in 2018. I was like, first 20 kilometers, beautiful. Like I had a blast. And then going up the Table Mountain, for me, it was super easy. I loved that, but probably went too hard. This is why I paid for it. After running across it and on the way down. So something happened to my knee, or I was imagining, because at some point you're kind of quite often being too sensitive during the long distance races, and you do go through many different stages, but then one of the stages is like a pain threshold is much lower. So you feel things in your body that you probably on a daily basis never would pay attention to. So I was like, oh my God, my knee's hurting. What? It's only like 25, 30 kilometers. What's that? And then pain was coming and going. So I had this like moments where I was like running really fast and steady. And then I had the moments where I like couldn't run. And it was quite early in the race. And I was like, that is not right. Like, that is not right. It's like still a lot to go. I was so frustrated with myself because I knew there was a cutoff time at 35 kilometers. This is where they see who can actually complete 100.
I think, what's the cutoff time? Is it 17 hours I think you have to complete
for the full race?
Yeah.
Yes. But then you have to run 35 kilometers in 5.5 hours or 6 hours, something like that.
Okay.
So
you can kind of feel the pressure as you get to these points.
Yeah. They are very smart during that race because it's a super hard race. And if you can't run 35 in that time, they estimated that you can't complete the 100k, which is
sensible.
Yeah. You don't want someone who can't run that distance in that time being in the mountains, risking their lives, because it is super dangerous. Like you do run on some path that you'd like literally look down and you think, oh my God, I can't believe I'm running here. But this is the beauty of it as well. I absolutely loved it. So then, yes, I didn't make a cutoff time for 35k.
Okay.
And it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, especially when you're traveling so far and you're with a group, there's a lot of expectation, isn't there?
Yes. And it was super hot day as well. And I think it was more to do with the weather, and definitely thinking back, not enough of a right training approach for that kind of race. So literally when I'm approaching 35 kilometers and they're looking at the watch, and I overrun by only 4 minutes. So they just crossed the 100 number on my race number, and I literally cried. I sat there for like 20 minutes. I cried my eyes out, and I was like, I'm not running this race. It's done for me now. I'm here to run 100, not 65. But then like you have to just pull yourself together and keep going. There is like no point of feeling sorry for yourself. You know, people who deserve to run 100k, like I literally admire them for it, because it's super tough race.
As you were there getting upset at that news, were other people coming through, and could you see them being told the same thing and their reactions?
Absolutely yes, but none of them reacted the way I did that I've seen.
I can just imagine a scene of runners breaking down.
I was so disappointed. I was so upset with myself, and at that time I should be more upset with myself than the race volunteers, but at that point you can't help it. You're upset with them. Then I did understood that was like it's only me. You know, it's not them. They're just there to do their work, and they do their work really, really well. Race is so incredibly organized, so well supported. It's just the best race ever I have run so far. So then I'm like decided, okay, just go and run 65. It's still a fair distance, and it's still like quite a long way to go. So,
definitely.
And you have painful knees, you know, you just like couldn't run downhill. And we joined with more kind of energized runners who did only 35, and they were all like buzzing and like being super happy and super like, come on, let's go. And I was like, yes, let's go. So it kind of picks you up.
It's contagious, isn't it? The atmosphere.
Absolutely. So then I completed the 65K. I felt great on the finish line. But then straight after I crossed the line in 2018, I knew I will be back for it. I had already created master plan in my head on the way back from Cape Town to London. And I registered for the race again as soon as the entry was open. But then this time I trained so hard for the full year because I knew what to expect and I knew how hard it is. Focused on it so hard that I hardly had any social life then. So I'm remembering like after work going to the sauna just to do the heat adaptation training for like an hour.
Okay, I didn't even think about doing that. So you'd go to the sauna and do exercises in the sauna, or
no, just stay there.
Oh, just sit in the heat.
Yeah,
okay.
Just sit in the heat so your body adapts to the heat.
How often were you doing that?
So apparently the heat adaptation training, you can train quite quickly, but you can lose quite quickly. So there is no point of doing that like way ahead before the race. So I was doing that for the last months before I was going. But then the running wise, my distance was increasing so much every weekend.
Yeah.
This is when I did my runs, long runs. So then I just haven't had any energy or time to go out. And
it's a huge sacrifice if you want to dedicate yourself to a big event, whether that's an ultra, even a marathon.
Yeah.
You have to give up so much.
Oh,
I actually wanted to ask you, how did you train for a race that's so far on trails and has huge elevation when you're living in London?
Yeah, I actually wanted to write about it one day, but maybe it will still happen. So how to train for UTCD while you live in London? Well, first thing first, I planned few races abroad.
Mm-hmm.
I did Bergamo ultramarathon, which was in July, and I did Cappadocia 65 kilometers trail in October.
Okay.
So those 2 training races that I've done. Apart from that, I was getting trained at London Bridge at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, every Sunday morning, and I was going to Surrey Hills.
Yeah.
And just like running around Surrey Hills for like 50, 60 kilometers, no matter rain or sun, I was there. So that helped me a lot for my long runs. But I did do quite a lot of strength training because I knew like strength training is must-have element of your training for ultra trail runs, because you rely on it so much. Not just like lower body must be strong, but your upper body must be so strong to make sure that you're like can hold yourself really for any kind of challenge. Because during the Cape Town, there is like one section where you literally have to climb up the rocks. And there are like uphills. Some of them are so steep that you can't believe. And then you also have like running on the beach and then running in the mountains, up the mountains, down the mountains, climbing the rocks. Some of the rocks you run on are so unstable that you like have to really be careful what you do. And if you like try to run relatively fast, it's just super important to be aware of your body and have a strong body to get you through it. So I did 3 strength training sessions per week. I had one steady medium run. Medium run usually would be anything between 20 to 30 kilometers, sometimes 15. It depends on the day how much time I had. And then I had it's not a speed session. So I call it speed session, but what I did, I combined 3 different things because I knew that like for this kind of runs, you have to have diverse ability to move in different ways. So I combined my speed training with it included treadmill but uphill or with elevation, followed by rowing and followed by stairmaster. So I would spend like, it depends, I had different trainings on different days, but usually it would be like something 3 minutes on the rower, then 3 minutes on the Stairmaster, then 3 minutes on treadmill. And I would play with timings and I would play with pace as well during those runs. And I would do that like 3, 4 times, 5 times if I had enough time.
So a lot of cross training.
Absolutely.
I think ultras are so much different to road running, aren't they? They do require that strength and agility as well, and being able to jump over rocks and brambles. You need to be strong.
Yeah.
Were there specific exercises that you used for that, or kind of your general exercises you used? Do you think they're all good for running? They're specific running exercises?
Absolutely. One of my go-to, I always say, I do a lot of unilateral exercises, whether it's a single leg deadlifts or just a single leg dive, which is like you stand on the platform with one leg and you just literally like squat, but making sure your knee follows your toes, it doesn't go in or out. That's the main thing. And then I do quite a lot of things like lunges with weights, squats with weights, and leg presses. Also like single leg presses. Not much of a plyometric training, because you do that while you run a lot as well, because this is what you do. But definitely a lot of unilateral exercises, because we spend running all the time on one leg only.
That's so true.
And usually most of us, we have muscular imbalance. One leg would be stronger than the other. So before any race like that, you just figure out which leg is stronger, which one is weaker, and you pay attention to that weak leg big times, just to try to balance things out in both legs. And then yes, the only one way to become better at running is to run. So just to run as much as you can, and just do hill training. Hill training, another massive thing.
Did you incorporate just hill reps, so just going up and down hills, or did you try and just do your long runs that were hilly so that you had it within your running?
No, hills, I did hill reps.
Hill reps. I do like hill reps, but then I do them in London and I go anywhere else in this country or others and I realise how tiny the hills I'm running up are.
Yeah.
It is tough.
It is, but it's doable. It's doable.
And you said that when you were doing all of that training, obviously you have to sacrifice a lot of your personal life. What motivated you to keep going? Because you said that you were doing that for about a year training. There must have been times where you were feeling like, why am I doing this? Why am I giving up seeing this friend? And how did you push through and keep training?
When I set myself a goal, I am very focused on it. So this is probably my biggest strength I have in me. I would do whatever it takes to make it happen. But also I just knew for myself, I needed to put all into that training to know I have done everything I could to run the race. And I think with running, I also have a very meaningful relationship to me, because I realize running for me now, it's like connection between me and my dad, who I never met in my life. He passed away before I was born, and as a little girl I used to like run around and kind of imagining myself that he kind of chasing me, and before each race I do, I kind of have a little chat to him, and during the race probably still. So it's kind of like it connects me with him on some level during the runs. So this is why, probably one of the like biggest reasons why I run, because I just feel good running.
I think it's so important to have that reason, and make sure we're doing it for the right reasons as well.
Yeah, totally. I love it. And don't get me wrong, it is hard. It's not easy thing to do, but it just gives me so much pleasure. I feel like I achieved something for myself within myself. And if I can see my body being so strong and do such incredible things, that like running 100 kilometers in Cape Town, if you talked to me about it like 5 years ago, I would say like, no, you're mad, I'll never do that. But it is doable. And then after completing this, you think, I wonder what else my body can do, how much more can I push it? And again, it has to be a healthy way of seeing these things, because it can be sometimes too much. You just have to know your body well enough to understand what is too much and what is just right amount. So for me, running is physical and mental therapy. Another thing that I see, doing things that I'm doing, they actually do inspire people. Like, even though like my clients that are always like talking to me, I can't believe you do this, I can't believe you do that. We just have this amazing connection, because I always say that only runner can understand runner, because you kind of share a lot of similar experiences and you go through them together during different races, and you just know what they're talking about without needing to explain. And then when they come back to me saying, oh, I just did my PB running 50k, or I just did my PB running 5k, and I was like, oh my god, well done, kudos to you.
You understand the feeling.
It's incredible, and it's like, it gives me so much joy. The best reward that I can get from my job is just seeing my clients getting their goals and smashing their PBs. But it's not always about that. I have some clients who have like different goals, and it's also as incredible as it can be. A lot of people have limited abilities of do certain things, and I realize how lucky we are to have this awesome thing in our body that we can run, because some people can't, because of like certain injuries that they have, and we should be totally grateful for it. But when like some of the clients have like a goal to do one press up or do one pull up, or just mentally it helps them big times. They are just getting away from their desk, they like spending 1 hour doing what they have to do, but then you can see them coming in with like a very like unhappy face and work stress and whatever might be happening in their life at that point. But after each session you see a completely different person, like, you know, with a smile, feeling like, oh, great, now I can keep going. And it just gives me motivation and power to like keep going and keep delivering as much as I can to people I work with, and I just totally love what I do.
I can see it so clearly, and obviously we've just come through lockdown and got through the other side, and you've had to do your online videos and kind of adapt what you've done. What have you learned through that process, and how have you felt doing that?
Well, I think again it was super scary, but relating to back to UTCT race, because when I started the race it was a completely different experience. Like, we didn't eat so much and so late, we didn't drink electrolytes as much as we did the year before. Everything was just so different. We just knew what we had to do. Everything was so much better, like organized, prepared in terms of our personal preparation, and the race went super well. Like, the whole race was just an incredible thing, and that all the hard work you put in, it pays off. And now this year I knew what to expect, so I kind of knew how hard I needed to train to be prepared for it, mentally and physically, and I did all that. And what I wanted to say is, you have to respect the long distance running, because you just go through so many different stages in your mind that you just can't think that you can do it because you can do some other things, like you know, running a marathon or lift whatever weight you lift. No way. You have to like train yourself so consistently, and specifically for the trail runs like that one, you can't just assume that you can do it.
It's not, because it's not just distance, it's the mind, it's what's underfoot, it's the hours on your feet, the nutrition side of things. There's so many different elements that are so different from a road race, and road races should be respected as well, but the ultras are
road races totally. Now when you like, if you ask me any question about road races, I would be like, oh, it's in the past, I loved it, but I'm over that. I never say that I'm not going to run a road races again, but it's super hard work, and I admire any athletes that runs road races, and they totally awesome. Keep going, guys. But for me, I think it's in the past. I love trails so much that I'm just gonna like keep doing trails for now. But never say never. Never know what is gonna happen. But during the COVID, and relating to again to the race, I think that race taught me so much about myself. Like, I can do so many things, and I can overcome so many things. So when the lockdown happened, I remember that Friday when they announced that the gyms are going to be closed, and I was like, oh my god, what's going to happen? What what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to operate? Like, what am I going to do with my clients? Like, how are we going to be like connected? What's going to happen? So that day I was so stressed and I just had no idea like how it's going to be. But then the next day I was like, in each challenge you have to see an opportunity, because otherwise you just start to slide down other than climb up. So I had to again pull myself together quickly and then draft the plan, what I'm going to do, what's going to happen. I kept training my clients virtually, but then I had more time to actually do what I was always planning to but never had time for, because I was like so busy in the gym with the clients all the time that I never really had time to leave my life. But because I love my job so much, I did not mind that. But I also wanted to transition my personal training to online training and do like a hybrid version, have like half and half online, half in person. But I never really had enough time to sit down and actually do it. So the lockdown gave me that time, and I had to act quickly and set everything up super quickly. So I just sat down there one evening and I was like, right, this is what we're doing now. This is how it's going to be. So I had to do it and I had no choice, and I did it. And it just feels so different, but so great to have that other option if I needed to. And I still love personal training face-to-face, and I probably for the next, I don't know how many years, wouldn't stop doing that, because I do enjoy that a lot. And today, going back to the gym for the first time after 4 months, I realized that even more, because people were asking me whether you will go back to the gym, and I was like, I don't know, we'll see what happens. And then today, entering the gym and doing my first client at 7 a.m. in the morning, I was like, oh my God, I love this so much. I miss
You're
this
back home.
feeling. Yes, I'm back home. But totally do enjoy online training as well. Online training just gives me a little bit more freedom to do other things in life that I like, not necessarily related to work.
So it's giving you a bit of your time back. And I think also online classes are a good way to reach more people than you would be able to in a one-to-one session, and people can just tap in and out as they need, because life's so busy. So having those online classes has been really useful.
Absolutely.
So I was just hoping to end with the one piece of advice you would give to people that are new to running or new to strength training and going to the gym, what your advice would be for getting started.
For getting started, running wise, would definitely say never give up, because as you heard my story, I thought I couldn't run for more than 10 minutes. And just because I was very kind of dedicated and wanted to, I didn't stop, even though I struggled. So never give up when you start, because starting is always hard, but the main thing is to take that first step, but also be mindful with the way you take that first step, because a lot of people start too fast or they run for too long. Your body have to get used to it. So just start easy. Start with run walk approach or jog walk approach, and then just build up slowly. Don't go all out and then never go back to it, because this is the mistake that many people make.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy when you start. You might feel like you can go faster, but you really need to rein it in and build that base that's strong.
Yeah,
it takes a while to build that up, just to avoid future injury. And
absolutely, yes.
And then suddenly hating running because you think you're going to get injured.
A lot of people telling me I hate running, and I was like, why do you hate running? Like, because I can't run, it's so painful. I tried once, and I was like, you tried once, and how did you try? So, and we always go back to the same thing. They just went all out from the first time, and obviously you would hate something that hurts your body, but if you start the right way and build up slowly, then you will find the joy of it. So definitely just don't give up and start slow and build up slowly and gradually. In terms of strength training, would definitely advise, if you are a beginner, seek a professional help, because strength training is different in that way. You have to know what you're doing if you are super new to it. But if you can't or don't want for some reason to have that, before you start, just look at a lot of YouTube videos just to know what you're doing. Make sure you have a mirror in front of you so you can see your form, or film yourself and just look back. And if you're looking into doing like a strength weight training, start with super lightweight and just make sure you get the form right before you progress, because again, it's super easy to injure yourself if you don't know what you're doing. Just start with simple things, compound moves like squats, lunges, and also I would definitely advise for beginner to use the machines more than free weights to start with.
Yeah, a bit more controlled.
Exactly, yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's been really interesting, and I've definitely learned a lot that I didn't know about you before. So thank you for sharing all of that.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to you too.
Thanks. A big thank you to Olga for joining me on today's podcast. You can follow Olga on Instagram by searching Olga Stignii _fitness. She shares loads of great workout videos and live sessions if you want to join in. I'll be back next week with another episode of the podcast, and you can follow me using the handle @marathonmedic or by searching marathonmedic.com. Thanks.